And it looks like we are live, and we got a bunch of people already commenting. Wow.
Oh,
I'm surprised. What's up, JT?
what's up, pal?
How are
Happy
you?
Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday. Happy prelude to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy sort of end of the fishing season as we know it. I know we'll all still be fishing here and there, but officially for me, today was supposed to be my last charter. We got winded and rained out today, so wound up that yesterday was my last trip. We left on a high note. Great trip with some great people, and I am done till next April.
It's crazy to think the year flew by, didn't it? It seems like every season flies by.
I can't believe blackfish season. At least for me, I know we're still going to be blackfishing. I'm still going to go out a few more times. But not in a charter capacity. My boat, I've not had water at my dock for close to 2 weeks now. By the way, it's getting to be harder and harder. I've the last 3 trips I've gone to my buddy Rick's dock, which is 2 towns over, about 4 miles from my dock, and actually filleted the fish there, cleaned the boat there, and then brought it back around to my dock with my clients aboard too, so they get to meet Rick. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He'll tell you it's a great thing. My clients listening to him may not agree, but yeah, we're done with for the season, and it really feels like blackfish started 2 weeks ago, and it's been, at least for me, about 5.5 weeks of almost fishing every day.
Must be nice. Yeah, a lot of these marinas too, because I know a couple of my buddies were like, "Oh, they turn the water off too soon," and like the business, they want your ass out of the water. They want to get paid for winter
Well,
storage.
look, I can understand why marinas do that too. I don't know. I don't know if it's a subtle nudge, get out, or if our lines freeze when it's 28 degrees overnight. You're not the one paying the few $1,000s to have a plumber come in and work in. It's not like your kitchen, right? Or a valve behind your wall downstairs in the basement. I believe it's probably a little more involved if it happens around salt water.
Yeah.
I would assume it's a little more complicated.
Well, I have some new news as far as where the Seafeeder is going to be located for next year.
Oh, do tell.
So I am going to be pretty sure, 95% sure I have to go down and check out the slip over the weekend. But I think I'm going to be going out of Ragged Rock Marina in the Connecticut River, right at the mouth.
Oh.
So it'll be a little bit further travel distance by boat, but it's only about 15 minutes from my house, which is really nice.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How long is the ride then to the Sound?
5 minutes. Not even.
Oh, okay. That's not
literally right at the mouth, right at the railroad bridge, as you come out into the Sound. But the nice part's going to be is I'm going to be right in the river for that kind of fun early striper season, and then I'll have hatchets to the east. I'll have Long Sand Shoal and 6 Mile Reef and 28-foot shoal off to the west. And then pretty much straight out will be the Gut, and I can head to Montauk from there. So it'll be good.
So you're a little west of where you are now?
Yes, I'm about, by boat, about half an hour west.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know, I don't know Connecticut at all. I don't know how many of you guys saw the news that a Connecticut charter guy was convicted, criminal conviction, with keeping sea bass on the New York line over the demarcation line in the Sound while the season was closed.
You're kidding.
No. And this is one of the things we have to be wary of as charter captains is and I make a big deal about this when I charter about the Long Island Sound and the New York Bight, because my boat is located in the Bight, but I primarily fish the Long Island Sound, and the Sound only allows a 3 fish per man limit. And I tell my clients when we're fishing in the Sound, hey, I know we can keep 4 at my dock, but I can't keep 4 here. We can only keep 3 here. And I probably sound crazy to a lot of them, but I absolutely do not want to take any chances with any of these. And there's a nice thread about it on the Whole Truth, and allegedly the captain was only feet. I don't know how they figure this out, but feet past the line.
So this has been something that's been kind of in my craw for the past few years, especially early in the season. I'm reading the article right now. I just pulled it up. It's on ctinsider.com. Connecticut fishing boat captain convicted of poaching black sea bass in New York waters. I'm not going to give. Well, hell, you know what? I'm not going to read his name. You can read that yourself. But it was the Lucky Hook out of Clinton.
I don't know that boat.
I am very familiar with that boat. I'm sure a lot of the Connecticut guys are as well. Was found guilty of operating a charter vessel without a permit and illegal possession of black sea bass after a bench trial last week in the county that covers central and western Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
He was fined.
And by the way, this is one of the reasons I never go to Connecticut for blackfish, even though like Nino got his 18-pounder there. I have never applied for a.
Yeah. So
I know this is sea bass, but Nino got his 18-pounder in Connecticut. I don't fish Connecticut for that reason. I don't have a permit to fish Connecticut.
I'm glad that this. I'm sorry. I mean, there are so many people, especially at the beginning of blackfish season, that are going over the line and keeping sea bass. They drive way miles over the New York border and they're poaching. And I've been saying that for a long time.
And sea bass is closed in Connecticut?
So at the beginning of the season, this year we had kind of that funky new regulation where Connecticut opens before New York. I think it opens, I want to say in May, is it? May 17th? June 17th? Something like that for sea bass.
And then it closes, right? When New York opens.
Right. And what's happening, and then it closes and it's only open to charter boats and commercial boats and party boats, all that stuff. And then whatever, it reopens again to the recreational guys. But what was happening is the first few weeks where Connecticut only was open and New York was closed, guys from Connecticut were way over that line, coming back with 5 blackfish each. And I kept telling
what I don't understand
is poaching.
Why the heck can't New York and Connecticut, right? Connecticut basically shares the Long Island Sound with New York. Why can't they just common sense have uniform regulations so people aren't, guessing that, wait, am I on the New York side? Am I on the Connecticut side? Where's the actual demarcation line? Yes, some GPSs show it.
Most
but
of them do,
it's stupidity to me. If we're all fishing this for the same fish in the same waters, why wouldn't you just have uniform regulations, dates, sizes, numbers? And I know guys from Jersey, North Jersey, South, Brooklyn, Staten Island guys are going to say the same thing. Yeah. That when they're fishing Sandy Hook, one set of regulations for the Jersey guys, one set of regulations for the New York guys. It's ridiculous. And my buddy Craig Watkins here is need to open it to all. Too many of these nuisance fish. 1,000,000,000%. I'm all for conservation, right? I try to release as many fish as I can. I know counterintuitive. I have a charter business. I have a YouTube channel showing people catching fish. But I will happily fish and throw every fish back. To me, it's about the sport, the hunt, the strategy, the spots. This is one fish I would like to kill more of. They are the ultimate nuisance fish. And the fact that there are billions of them, it seems, in the water. And they're a menace. They eat everything. One of my blackfish trips this year, it spit up a huge lobster, huge, like a 5-6 inch lobster, but relatively big for a sea bass, that size lobster. And, Skinner is absolutely convinced that in the Long Island Sound region, the downfall or the great reduction we've seen in lobsters is completely attributable to these guys. When he was a kid and he used to dive for lobsters, he never saw a black sea bass in his life. Now they are all over those same areas that he used to catch lobsters at. And
actually a tropical fish. It's a member of the grouper family. And
I did not know that.
Yeah. So originally we didn't have them up this far. I mean, it was like, I think it was probably around the early 1900s or so. People they started showing up, but I'm glad somebody finally got tagged on this. When you're poaching, it's poaching. It's just like going out and shooting deer with a spotlight.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's so I'm glad someone got nailed.
And
Ask the
yes,
government makes sense.
PTF, I am asking the government to start making sense. I know, I know. And welcome back. I do see you missed a few of these. Glad to have you back and asking these great questions. It looks like Nate is asking, and I don't know if that's for me or JT. Nate, JT, the question is, do you anchor when you're blackfishing?
Hmm.
I don't. I have a trolling motor.
I do, because my boat can't fit a trolling motor.
And technically, when you are using a trolling motor, I believe the Coast Guard considers you underway, even if you're using it for anchoring purposes.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how I anchor, but under the letter of the law, I'm technically not anchored, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we got quite a few people on for us, JT. I thought this one was going to be very poorly attended as the fishing season winds down.
Oh, I think
Um,
so. This is. Why don't we let everybody know?
Good.
This is going to be our last Thursday show until. When are we going to start back up again, John? You
I
want to
think we
start up
said
in like
April,
March,
but
April?
we did say we will have shows as things pop up.
Yeah.
So one of the things JT and I, guys, I'm not making this up. We rarely ever. You'll probably agree. You'll be like, yeah, we know, we've seen the shows. We rarely discuss anything in advance. And that's probably very evident by how we do these. But
It's not definitely
um,
not scripted.
we had one topic that I said maybe we should bring up today, and that's there's a lot of scuttlebutt that we are going to see I'm going to interrupt my own thoughts. Sup, boys? He must have heard
Hey,
his
what's up,
name a
Nino?
second ago. It's like if you say Beetlejuice a few times, something happens. I said
I
Nino's
think you
name.
did say
Popped
Nino's
up.
name 3
I
times.
did. I did. But back to, I see how easily I get distracted. There's a lot of talk that we're going to see a moratorium next year on striped bass. Moratorium as in no legal possession will be allowed. They're still very concerned about the stocks and the numbers. And I know I'm going to hear it right now from the South Shore guys, because I've spoken to a lot of people who are telling me they're picking up 40 to 45-inch bass every drop, big bunker piles on the South Shore.
Okay.
We're talking about the ocean side in New York. I think Jersey had a run like this too. Giant bass, bait everywhere, whales near the beaches.
Did you see that video, by the way? Did you see that
Pardon?
video that somebody shot from one of those party boats where it was like the biggest striper blitz in history? Did you see that video?
I have not seen that
Oh, let me
video.
see if I can get that and we can show it,
Yeah.
because it was amazing.
Yeah. So I'm bringing that up because obviously if that becomes the letter of the law, we'll have the Thursday night episode. So as things pop up, we'll pop up. But we'll go back to the every 2-week format in April when we start talking about bass. We'll start talking about fall blackfish, fluke season coming up. What are the regulations for all of that? How's everybody planning? How's everybody getting ready? And yeah, Craig is confirming. Yes, the bass run on the South Shore has been insane this year. Miles and miles of bass catch on anything.
That's awesome.
And Nino thinks it was the Laura Lee.
Yes, that's what it was. Laura Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a great video. It was really amazing. It was the water. It looked like for 3/4 of a mile was just boiling with stripers.
So we have an honored guest today, Ron Redrow.
What's up, Ron? How you doing?
So Ron is the better half of the Nino Aversa Team El Nino. Kidding, Nino. Kidding.
T-Cone.
Yeah. What's your best moment of the 2024 season?
Oh, best moment. Well, best moment, it was kind of bittersweet. It was when my buddy Tim lost an absolute monster doormat fluke right next to the boat.
That's a good moment?
It was a good moment. It was a great moment because it was exciting. We would have let the fish go anyway, but just to get to see a fish, it was a giant. Definitely, you know, probably 13, 14 pounds. It was a monster. Yeah, that was awesome.
I think charter wise, my best moment might have been one of my very regular clients, Kirk, hooked into his second double digit fish in 10 days on a day that sucked. We had nothing. We were
We were out there
in the
that day.
ocean. We came to where you and I like to fish, not in the ocean, and hooked a few fish, including that monster. And the best part was he released it. Me personally, this is going to sound really cheesy, but I fished early with Skinner before my boat was delivered up north, or it was delivered, but it wasn't ready to be put in the water. A couple times on his boat, doing this casting sideways into a rip style with 1 ounce bucktails and keeping it off the bottom, and I sucked. I couldn't catch a fish. And the third time I did it with him, I said, screw this. I brought my noodle rod, my blackfish noodle rod. And I wound up out fishing him that day. I had 20 stripers on that little light rod. And all the comments about the coffee grinder noise, it's because I used that rod that day with that reel, that Slammer 2500, and it went through 20 bass. But finally understanding how to fish that style, that was my personal highlight, because after the first 2 times, I thought, I'm never going to get how he's catching all these fish, and I can't hook. I hooked one friggin' spider crab the entire first 2 trips. And so that's my personal moment. And then the boat moment would have been my buddy Kirk with that 12-pounder that he released.
Mm-hmm. Also, I want to add too. I think another really memorable time this season was the last fluke trip that we did. It was actually a tuna trip, and on the way in, we had a very unsuccessful tuna day. And my buddies came down from the Albany area, and I decided I didn't want them to go home empty-handed, and we ended up pulling up to one of my favorite little fluke nooks, and we just smashed them for a good 2 hours, and we caught some really big ones. That was the last fluke day of the year for us. It was pretty awesome.
And PTF said, I thought it would have been tuna. I presume that was directed at you, Nino, because I only went tuna fishing once, and it was my first time in over 20 years. And although it was exhilarating to hook up, the almost 4-hour fight, which resulted in no sashimi for me, was definitely not a highlight, but an awesome experience, but not what I would consider a highlight. James asks a good question. John, are you adding anything to the new boat this offseason? It's a great question, young James, and I'm going to try to. So definitely there's going to be some modifications to the boat in the spring. I don't have a washdown. And this is on me. It's an option on my boat. I didn't see it as an option when I was doing the options. I just assumed all new boats come with washdowns.
Yeah, who would have thought you had to spec that out?
Yeah, it's definitely adding a washdown. So hold on. There could be more than one young James, okay? This was James, the first James. I know you, the other James. I know you're the real young James, but I don't know why. Young James popped into my head when I read James Flynn's question. All right, now that I think 14-year-old other James got me all worked up, I'm gonna calm down. Anyway, I really need to figure out how to add curtains to my boat too. I put up a short that the other James says I'm old, the one that asked this question. We did a couple trips this year. There were maybe 3 trips for Blackfish where we were out in stuff we probably shouldn't have been out in. And like any boat, if it's blowing over 20 miles an hour, there's no such thing as a dry center console when it's blowing 30 miles an hour. That water that hits the hull is going to blow right into you. So I gotta look around next spring and see if there's a place that can do curtains. The complications always when it's a marina taking care of your boat that you keep the boat at is you're somewhat limited in how much work can get done there. So we're gonna have to figure that all out. And hey, if anybody in Eastern Long Island knows of a shop or has a lead on people that can do curtains, send me an email, jiggingjerks@gmail.com. I'd appreciate it. Anything you doing to the Sea Fever?
Yeah, well, I'm actually gonna do some pretty big modifications to it. We're gonna be installing a 65-inch television on the outside, a flat panel, so we can watch our football games while we're out tuna fishing.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I'm going to be putting a FLIR camera on it, and
That's a waste of money.
well,
I had one on
yeah,
the Cobia.
like
It
it.
does nothing, man. It does nothing.
No, all
You should
right, well,
look at the Nightwave. Look at the Psionics Nightwave. The
yeah,
side by sides. Those.
yeah.
It
Have you
looks
seen
like
one in person?
I've not seen one in person, but I had a FLIR on the Cobia for 3 years. It was useless.
Yeah, the Psionics, I'm not sure about. I considered that, but I didn't like some of the reviews. But and then I'm going to I have a brand new life raft that I ordered that I'm going to be putting on there. So we have that for tuna season. We're going to do a lot more tuna fishing and fluke fishing next year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. You'll have to. We'll have to meet then, because tuna has become the one fish that I will eat every day. I think I've said this a handful of times, but I will take the ferry over to Connecticut if it equals tuna from you.
Okay.
We have our snark comment of the week. Drum roll music.
What is it? I can't see it.
It's some jackass his name I can't pronounce.
Thanks.
He says the best curtains out there are called Pilot House.
Oh my goodness.
That was pretty good. That's a good sting. And then Craig has a suggestion. Doramar Canvas does all custom canvas work. Craig, I just presume they're somewhere like central Long Island, right? They're not Eastern Long Island. Oh, Craig who fishes on a Pilot House. Craig was fishing right next to us the other day. He had that to say. Yes, Nino. They're in Sayville. Okay. Not close, not terribly far. But yeah, that's my plan. And like we said, we're gonna I think pop in as news allows. Me personally, I'm gonna hopefully be down in Florida again mid-December. We do have our first charter booked in Florida. We are going December 20. We booked Captain Tanner. I forgot the name of his charter business. It's actually a member of my channel, James Diotti. He booked it, and it's going to be me, James. I won't say young James, so we don't offend the real young James. It's going to be me, James, John Sweeney, Doc, Brendan Fisher, Fisher Family Adventures. He's down in South Florida. And we're going to have one more person with us. And we're going to be targeting American red snapper, where Florida announced their season they're going to have a small opening again in their season through the end of this year. So this is not a cheap charter. It's $2,400 without tip. But yeah, I'm dying to go out there and only target ARS. I mean, I've caught one. They fight great and should be a lot of fun. We're probably going to go out 70, 80 miles into the Gulf to target them.
Nice. Hey, John, see at the bottom of the screen there, you see that little window where I shared my screen? I want to go back to this a minute because this article has something I think we're all going to want to look at.
Yeah.
So
you guys can see this now, right?
I think everybody can see it. Let me see. Yeah. This is that article, again, ctinsider.com, about the convicted charter boat captain. But I was scrolling through this while you were talking, and I got down to the bottom section here. And where is it? Talks all about black sea bass. Then it goes into this. Says the U.S. Department of Justice also has focused on black sea bass in commercial fishing operations. In July, a Long Island fisherman was sentenced to 30 months in prison after convictions related to at least 200 fishing trips targeting fluke and black sea bass, according to a news release. Captain out of Montauk, trawler New Age, harvested in excess of both quotas and trip limits and falsified reports, federal authorities said. In a related case, Brian, blah, blah, we'll go back down there. In total, about 200,000 pounds of fluke and black sea bass was a wholesale.
I did a story on this guy a couple of
What
years
the
ago.
hell, man?
Yeah. This
It's
is this is and JT, sorry to cut you off. I made this point at the time. That year that he took 200,000 pounds of fluke, it was mostly fluke. The New York recreational quota was 600 something thousand. This one son of a you know what by himself got about a third of the quota that every recreational fisherman, charter boat, party boat is allowed. And I'll go to my grave that they look, I get how important the commercial fishery is, right? They supply restaurants, they supply supermarkets, they have families to feed.
200,000 pounds of fluke. That's bullshit.
Yeah, I wish I could say that too. Yes, I agree 100%.
You can say it. That's fine. This is I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. And we're sitting here worried about fluke limits and all this other nonsense. I mean, these people are poaching and slaughtering. Yeah,
Well, and look,
this is ridiculous.
For fluke, we've talked about this too. The worst part is we're talking about the big breeders that go offshore, continental shelf in the winter. Those are the ones that are getting killed off, and that's what's,
I'm just glad that they're paying more attention to this now. This is going to help us. It'll be a good thing for us.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Chris is asking, can we predict what the regulations will be for next year? Chris, I don't know yet what I heard fluke might take a hit too. So we'll see about that. I assume blackfish, sea bass, porgies, that'll relatively be the same. And then, like we said earlier, the big question mark is going to be stripers. We're not sure yet. Again, we might see a closure. We might see something where the charter boats and the party boats are allowed to keep. That's going to be the one I think that's going to cause the most angst among fishermen, because from what I'm hearing from very reliable sources, not Skinner, like people with ties to the regulators, that it might be a bloodbath for stripers for a bit. They might install 1980s draconian measures to try to get the stocks up.
Stocks up. There's too many small fish.
Yeah. Did you hear the report? Not Young James asked, did you hear the report about closing bottom fishing in Florida? An NOAA report. I did not hear about that. Why would they do that? Like that? That's government idiocy at its worst. That is like one of the prime tourist attractions. The reasons people go to Florida is to fish. That would be a death knell for the charter guys, for some of the hotels and resorts in the Keys.
So according to this, NOAA has closed bottom fishing in several areas, including for the South Atlantic. It says gag. I have no idea what that is. All harvest
gag grouper. Okay,
gag grouper, or purchase of gag is prohibited. Snowy grouper prohibited. Says the final rules intended to be submitted to the Federal Register on or before June 6, 2025. The amendment will specify management measures for 2025 red snapper commercial and recreational fishing season. So there's going to be obviously some, and then this here was also shown proposed bottom fishing ban. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look more into that.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that one up. Greg Ziss says, "What's up, guys? We saw Greg out there yesterday too."
What's up, Greg?
They did very well yesterday too.
They always do well.
Yeah, Gene says not enough DEC officers. So
very true.
It is true to some extent.
Connecticut as well. I'm counting Connecticut because we only have like 3.
Are you kidding?
No, that are out there in that section of the Sound. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I also think though that how do I say this without sounding like a jackass? The I think the DEC does the best they can, but I've been told by people in law enforcement that the issue is that a lot of the bad stuff that happens, there's not much they can do. So if you go down to a beach and you see people keeping small fish, lots of fish, a lot of those people are not US citizens. They don't have legal papers, and there's not much they can do. They can write a ticket, and then that ticket will never get paid, and that shows as a, hey, we issued 1,000 tickets last year and 800 of them didn't get paid. It looks worse for them when they write tickets that they can't cash, if you will. So I don't know how you address that problem. Probably not a discussion for our little live stream. It'll get a little too crazy and political. Kirk brings up a good point too. North Carolina had a 2-week flu season for a few years, and this year it was canceled altogether. Yeah, one of my clients, Mike, he comes up every year from North Carolina. I hear about this from him all the time. It's ridiculous for me. And Gene raises another good point. He's called and just gets an answering machine. Yeah, to your point, JT. You don't see any New York City. I know they're here in Long Island. I just went to the DEC offices in September. I did training for the new electronic reporting format charter captains have to start following in 25. I actually started doing it this year, much easier than the paper forms. There were quite a few officers there. They were all great.
It seems like the Peconic Bay area, that like from Greenport, Peconic Bay, you guys seem to have a lot of interactions with DEC officers. But once you get
law enforcement in general,
once you get to the Sound, it just seems like it's non-existent.
Yeah,
I've only been stopped once, and we're not talking about the Coast Guard, but I mean by NCON or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
I had 4 this year, and they were all in like the first 2 months of the season, and then that's it after that. And I don't mind getting stopped. Everything is above board with us.
Skinner gets stopped a few times. He's had a few videos over the years where he's had videos where he's had interaction.
It might have been a couple of years now. I think they all recognize him now. He's I think every one of them that could have stopped him has already stopped them. Oh, there's Dan the fisherman. I saw Dan out there too. So literally half the people in this were people I saw in the comments, were people I saw yesterday. In 3 years of fishing, I've never seen a DC officer, never been checked at any boat ramps. So Dan, you want to get checked? Go into one of the 2 boat ramps in Peconic Bay, the New York State DEC ramp, or the one on Manhasset Avenue in Greenport. They are there all the time. To your point, JT, they are there all the time. Yeah, and look, I've seen, when I'm down in Florida, I've seen FWC officers. I don't understand why it's not more prevalent in New York, because I think the guys that do it the right way don't care. I think the guys that do it the wrong way, like, I'm going to take a shot at some of the other charter guys and some of the not all obviously, but a few of the party boats, they get away with murder.
Oh my God! Don't even get me
started. They're the loudest complainers of enforcement because they have something to hide.
If you go out at the beginning of black sea bass season in Connecticut and you look out across the border, I'm not going to name them. There's 4 or 5 big party boats that are constantly way over the border.
Yeah,
from Connecticut.
And James just got checked at the DEC ramp. Mickey Mouse.
I'm glad they're
4
checking.
times in early blackfish season. I've seen Connecticut deep at the Niantic. Oh, deep must be the enforcement, the environmental
energy protection.
Yeah, at the Niantic rec check. That's good.
That is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Gene, I shouldn't have even brought up certain people. I was not talking about Asian people, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian. It makes no difference. It shouldn't be done. I'm just saying that if you're not documented, it's a little harder for law enforcement to do anything because this is not something they take you to jail over unless it's really, 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 really egregious. It's mostly tickets. And again, what are you going to do if you can't, if the guy gives you a name that is not going to ever appear in your system, it's not going to trace back to a social security number, it's never going to get paid.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of illegal charter captains that are taking people out. That
Waterboy just said they need to check the charter boats. They all keep shorts of them. For the record, we don't on my boat, but
I think you saw about the party boats.
Yeah, I think it's mostly like I was on with Tyler in Montauk. We had some fish that were very close. Back they went. I think most charter guys do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I've been on some boats that are kind of for hire, but not charters. Where they
click on that Mick Mouse one. Mick Mouse comment.
This one 4 times in early black.
No, the next one is his next one down. Is this true?
Notice Connecticut did put Chinese writing on their fishing signs for shores. You would know better than I do.
I'm going to have to go find out. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, and Waterboy confirmed, yes, big party boats.
No, big party boats, yeah. That I know is true. Not all of them, but I've been on some that are gaffing everything.
Yeah, and by the way, T-Cone 17, I'm not going to give away where he works, but he is part of law enforcement, so I would take this seriously, what he's saying. If you do see that something like this going on a party boat, send complaints to the DEC, and they will do operations on the boat.
Good. T-Cone, get out there and nail them. Nail all those fluke poachers, too.
Yeah, and Craig raises a good point, too. They need to hold the captain's mates accountable on party boats, and that would help more. They get to play dumb to it. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of stories where the captains have gone unscathed. A very famous operation here in my area, the captain is no longer alive. I fished on his boat a few times. I saw things that were gross on that boat, just absolutely gross. I'm talking about hundreds of undersized fish being kept.
Yeah. We went on a I don't want to give because the guy was really a nice guy, but we went on a charter, a bunch of us, a big party boat, and every single fluke was gaffed. It didn't matter how small it was.
Wow.
Yeah. If it looked like a keeper, it got gaffed. And it was pretty gross. It was
Greg, who is from Connecticut, confirmed the Chinese writing.
Wow.
And then the comment of the day from my
my goodness.
I know guys not playing dumb.
What's up, buddy?
Then he says hi.
We got the whole crew on here tonight.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm just scrolling back up to see if I missed any questions because we kind of got sidetracked there.
We got most of them. If we didn't answer your question if we didn't answer your comment or question, resend it.
Yeah, Nino also confirmed he saw
that's got to be new, like new. I'm gonna take a ride down there and see it.
Yeah. Gene said today, I fished in this rain for blackfish, over 40 plus fish, keepers, and 15 inchers plus from shore in New York City water. If you didn't fish in this rain, you missed out. Yeah. For me, the I don't mind the rain. The issue was more the wind that was predicted. It didn't turn out that bad, but they were predicting very, very strong east winds, and that pretty much shuts us down because we are limited then to Peconic Bay. I can't go out to my deeper spots.
How about the Bill Siegel? I like this one. Yes,
Can
Ron.
you talk about end of season rod and reel care cleaning? So I'll go first, JT, and then I'll let you go. So I actually did bring some reels down to one of my local bait and tackle stores where they do full service maintenance. A lot of you very politely pointed out that some of my reels were kind of loud. Coffee grinder was the comment I heard over and over. So those reels are in for service. The rest of the reels, when they come home, I open the drag on them, I put them away. They all get washed, obviously, too. And then I use them next year. And I've done that for years. And really, the only service I do is if it's necessary. And mind you, I'm not buying expensive reels for the most part. I think the most expensive reels I'll buy is like a Pen Slammer, and I'm on Pen's Guide program, so I get it at 35% off. I don't own, expensive Shimano Daiwa reels, anything like that. I mean, I might have a nice Daiwa on one of my striper rods, but for the most part, I don't really invest in expensive reels. And that's all the maintenance I do, and it doesn't seem to be an issue for the most part. JT?
So as far as all the high-end reels, I keep all the drags way down. I take the spools off of everything. I grease everything, and I pack them away in. I have these old hard case suitcases that have foam lining in them, and I just put everything in there. As far as like the cheaper reels go, I have like a 2-year cycle with them. Every year, I'm throwing out the 2-year-old reels and replacing them at the beginning of the season. So I don't buy the most expensive equipment, especially for fluke. You get those quantum reels. I call them 2-season reels, and I'm just cycling through them because they do get burnt out.
By the way, can we make a groundbreaking announcement on new
groundbreaking?
Yes, a world exclusive.
Okay.
We might see, for the first time ever, a competitor to the Accurist reel in markets next year. Designed by a good fishing friend of mine who knows a thing or two about reels and striper fishing and fluke fishing. So look out for that next year.
Does it have a flipping
You might
switch
see that in stores. A beefier reel that has many of the attributes where the Accurist is very popular for fluke, like the flip switch where you can drop down. This gentleman is coming out with a new product next year.
Does he have a beard?
He might have a beard.
Does he have a New York accent?
He might have a New York accent. Tell Garrett I said hi, Craig. Yes, definitely got to bring him down to Florida. We'll fish together on your dad's boat this year. Yeah, Daryl. John, any chance of opening 1 week of your charters to open boat? I'd be a single and would love to book. So one of my clients actually came up with a great idea. He said, why don't you have everybody email you that wants these singles, and then you can put together a group chat and let people get together. And I think that's a great idea. So we'll say something about that in a future video with the email. But I think that's a good idea. The problem, Daryl, is when you're a one-man show, when you're the captain, the mate, the guy booking every trip, and you're running trips almost every day, it gets very difficult to manage 4 different people for every trip. It just gets overwhelming at times. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but believe me, it gets overwhelming. If I had somebody manning a phone or something like that, it would be different. And then Dan is slamming my beloved slammers. Those slammers seem like junk. I've got a few of them, and they're all getting noisy. Rinse them. I do the same thing, Dan. I agree. I probably not the hardiest reel, but I don't know why they are so smooth to me. Like I have Pen Slammer. I have not slammers. What's the other one that I have? Again, I got them dirt cheap from the Guide program. The Battle 4s, the CNC machined ones.
Battle 4s.
They are not quite as smooth. The slammer, when that fish takes takes a run, the drag is so smooth. But yeah, I agree that the one I was using, I mean, it really did sound like a coffee.
I like jeans here. I use this a lot. I use a lot of Crown Royal bags for my reels. Yep, highly recommended.
Really? Yeah. Like the whiskey?
Yeah. the perfect bags for reels. Actually, like all the high end like Daiwa and Shimano reels, kind of come in that little kind of velvety soft bag.
Yeah, so I wouldn't know about high end reels. Again, my bar, like my Van Staal or Z Bass is the Penn Slammer 4. So
That's great though. I love it.
That's
Love
the
it.
upper echelon for me.
I love it. But that the Crown Royal bags are awesome for storing reels in. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
I
But I
think that
might
was
have
one of
said
my
too
favorite
much.
comments. Looks like Santa.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Those are really 1 year reels. I hate saying it, but they really are.
They're one
Anything that's a
season.
little beefier.
Yeah, if you can with the Accurists, the Energies, whatever, if you keep them greased and you rinse them every time, you get 2 seasons out of them.
Yeah, 2 seasons is the most you're going to get out of them.
Yes, two
I'm convinced
seasons.
of that.
Yeah,
And Mick, that we agree that's what everybody likes. The fact that
yes,
as you're jigging, you don't have to turn the handle to engage the clutch. You just hit the button. But even that, I don't know if that lasts 2 years. I don't care how well you take care of those reels.
you
That
got to
flip
spray
switch
that
function.
spring inside the pin with WD-40 constantly to keep that thing greased because it binds. You know, it's crazy because virtually every single freshwater bass fishing reel back in the day had a flip and switch on it, and now I
Yeah,
think
and that's where Skinner found the accuracy.
the
It was
Accurist was the
it's
best.
still I think now they finally got savvy enough and started marketing it as a saltwater reel. But for years and years, if you wanted to find it, like if you went to a sporting goods website, you looked under freshwater reels to find it.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. How much line do you use? Leader line do you use for blackfishing? I start at like 6 feet. I usually pull out an arm's length, and then as we change them and cut them and they get frayed, usually 3.5, 4 feet. Once it gets lower than that, it's time to retie.
And that's
JT, I
because
don't know if you have an
neither one
opinion
of us
on
are
that.
using. Yeah, because neither one of us are using a swivel. So if you're using a swivel, you want to have about if you're using a jig head, probably like 3 feet. But
Yeah, and just because we're on the Penn Slammer kick here, I love them when they were new, but they get noisy. Super smooth drag though. So I'm curious to see what this is going to cost to service because clearly some parts need changing. I presume the drag washers, and things like that. We'll see what this is costing me. That reel has been through hell and back. The one that was making all the noise. I was using it for blackfish. I was using it for striped bass, and I was using it for fluke. That was the rod I was using all year. So it saw a lot of action. So I'm curious, what it's going to cost. And that might be it, JT, my friend, with questions. We do have another comment though. The Squall low profile, new this season and worked well. That's my light tackle rod. Yeah, and somebody else mentioned to me, actually the tackle store owner where I dropped the reels off, was interested if I'd ever used one or asked if I ever used one, and he likes them a lot. So but again, if I'm going to go with like a low profile bait cast rod for fluke, I kind of want the flipping switch. Otherwise, I would just use a small light reel that has more power. If I have to engage the clutch, to me, you're losing a lot of the quiche or the niche or the benefit of using a small reel like that.
Well, this was a successful live stream we did this year. I'm glad we came up with this, Sal.
Well, you came up with this idea years ago, buddy.
Yeah,
You
well,
just allowed me to participate.
I'm glad we decided to do this together, and I think a lot of people benefited from it and had a good time, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, and we'll end it with we got more questions. O&M, will a Stratic 3K be able to fight a big top? Absolutely.
100%.
I caught an 8-pounder in the last video I published on Monday or Tuesday on a Penn Battle 2000. The Stratic 3000 will have no issue.
Stratic 3000 is exactly what I use.
Have you ever seen or used a goofish rod for tog? I wish they made it in 7.0. Absolutely, Gene. If you go back to my videos from a few years ago, you'll see that I had a yellow goofish rod. And in fact, Annette Houghton, on a subscriber trip 3 years ago on my boat, on my CV, caught an 11+ pound tog on a yellow goofish rod. Daryl, thank you for the nice words. Somebody's giving a lot of James on today's live stream is giving Todd a shout out. Don't inflate that ego, James. I'm kidding, Todd. Yeah. What's the entry? One more. Wow. See, we say we're going to stop. And what's the entry for Billy's by the Bay? So it's a little complicated, James. There's a per person charge per boat. So you register a boat, you pay, I think $75, don't quote me, per person, but the real money is in the side bets that the captains have, and those are called Calcuttas. And he has 3 Calcuttas, a $25, a $50, and a $100. So in addition to that $75 per person per boat, you're also going to pay $175 if you want to join all 3 Calcuttas. And somebody really misses your videos, Todd. James, yes. Todd unfortunately had some, I'll speak for Todd here. You know, he had some family stuff going on. He lost his father-in-law. Father-in-law had a business here in our town, Mattituck, and Todd and his wife have stepped in addition to Todd working his full-time job. So sometimes life gets in the way, but hopefully we'll see some of that awesome Long Island Lethals content. And Gene, listen, I tune in weekly to this. We should make it a podcast and get the wickedest stories. Yeah, you know, and we need to do more guests too. There's a lot of people I know that would come on this. A lot of our friends who are really great fishermen. Obviously, people we know, people in the industry too. Yeah, I appreciate that, Gene, that you said that. I think we would have a good time doing it. And then young James out. Have a great winter. And yeah, and James and I were supposed to shore fish this year. James has been crushing it. I'm going to give him a shout out. He's been crushing it, and he really is young James. He's a college student. He goes to Stony Brook. He's been crushing it off the shore for blackfish. That's something I'm desperately trying to do. I just didn't have time this year with the charters, but next year we'll get that done. And then somebody suggested check out Sailcoat Dry Lubricant. I presume that's for the reels. Thank you for that.
I would hope it is.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, is this some kind of perverse thing that I don't know about? Did I just say a word?
You're going through the comments so quick. Oh boy, this is setting up nice.
And then 2025 can't come soon enough. Lots of goals for fishing next year. A few winter projects first. Yeah, I'm just ignoring all the comments now about anything related to real, because for all I know, I just
good stuff. Hey, I want to thank everybody for supporting both of our channels.
Yes,
this season, and you know we're it's very motivating to both of us to create more content. I had a unfortunate scenario where my vehicle got stolen last week. All of my camera equipment, including my SD cards that had a whole bunch of footage I was saving for the winter, it's all gone. But I have put an order in for new cameras and all new gear, so I'm going to have a bunch of cool videos coming up on Next Drift. We're going to do a lot of technical stuff as far as some technical knots, gear videos, all that good stuff. So we'll have some pretty cool content, new content that I don't think anybody's done before that I think is going to be pretty cool too. So,
and just a counterpoint, we will have none of that on my channel. No technical knots. We tie 3 knots on my boat, and there will be more insulting my clients while they're paying me a lot of money to fish. So you have that to look forward to in the coming weeks. I do plan. I have the one great thing with this year with me quitting my job and basically doing this full time. I have a ton of footage. The kind of JT, you know how I feel. You and I talked a couple days ago about what happened. I am blessed to have a lot of footage from trips, and my goal this year is to continue pushing out fishing videos once a week and boating videos once a week. So I'll be down in Florida shooting new stuff, but I have a ton of stuff in reserve. So get ready for fluke, striped bass, blackfish videos in December, January, February, March. I don't know if it's going to work, if anybody's going to want to watch them. I think people are usually geared towards those when it's in season, but that's going to be my plan for the winter.
Thanks again, everybody. We'll just keep tabs on both channels. Make sure you subscribe so you can get the updates. And if Halk and I feel like popping in here to do a midwinter video live stream, we'll be on and you'll know about it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Otherwise, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, everything that everybody celebrates. Or if you don't celebrate, I don't know. I'm getting too PC in my old age, JT. Everybody just have a great winter, and we'll catch up with everybody soon.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
See you, Halk.